Presentation. My name is Jatin Saini. I'm working as Assistant Director in the Energy Management Division of National Productivity Council. So to start with the presentation, actually, as you are all aware of the energy crisis, and now we are facing the Corona crisis, and any crisis can come up. So we have to be ready to deal with such kind of situations. To start with the presentation on fundamental force. As we move on to the next slide, the objective of energy management is to achieve and maintain optimum energy procurement and utilization throughout the organization. And the ultimately we have to achieve, we have to minimize energy cost without affecting the production and quality, to reduce energy wastage and to minimize the environmental effect by decreasing the CO2 emissions. Now, why we need energy audit? Energy audit is a technique for addressing the energy management uh, procedures. So basically, there are three key factors which plays a major role in the overall production cost of any product or service. The three factors are energy, labor, and materials. And as we see in our industries, the major factor is energy, which claims around 30 to 50% of the overall production cost of the goods. So we target this area, that is energy management. Our primary objective of energy audit is to determine ways to reduce energy consumption per unit of product of output or to lower the operating cost. And energy audit provides us a benchmark for reducing the energy consumption in any industry. Energy audit and its types. If we say what is energy audit, so we can define energy audit as a verification, monitoring and analysis of use of energy, including the submission of technical reports containing the recommendations for providing energy efficiency with the cost benefit analysis and an action plan for the implementation of such recommendations in order to achieve energy efficiency in our industries or plants. The type of energy audit to be performed depends on three factors: function and type of industry, and what are the processes in that industry, depth to which final audit is needed, and potential magnitude of cost reduction desires. Thus, energy audit can be classified into following steps: preliminary audit, targeted energy audit, and detailed audit. Preliminary energy audit is relatively a quick process and takes around 2 to 5 days or maybe a week, depending upon the procedure and size of the plant or industry, wherein we establish energy consumption in the organization and a scope of savings. After which we identify the most likely and the easiest area for attention where we can, which are directly targetable to take the actions for energy conservation, and we identify those areas for the improvements and set a reference point for saving the energy. Then we identify areas for more detailed study and measurements where we have to carry out exhaustive measurements in order to further conserve the energy. And the preliminary energy audit uses existing and easily obtainable or available data in the industry. Targeted energy audit. Targeted energy audit is basically an advanced part of preliminary energy audit, wherein we take the data and we do the detailed analysis on subject specified target projects. Like when we are after the preliminary audit, some industry says or some plant says that we only target boiler portion, so we carry out the energy detailed study of the boiler part. Or if someone says that we only want to target on the HVAC portion, so in target energy audit we only go by the specific zone wise analysis of energy consumption. Mm. Further, as an example, an organization may target its lighting system or a boiler system or a steam system or compressed air system, with a view of affecting energy savings. So targeted audits therefore involve detailed surveys of the target subject and analysis of energy flows and cost associated with the targets. Now the third type, which is the more exhaustive type of the energy audit, wherein we carry out the detailed analysis and measurements ranging from a few weeks to a month also, and we evaluate all major energy consuming systems and equipments, and offer the most accurate estimate of energy savings and cost. Here we do a proper planning of all the manpowers, and we select the we select the instrument which are required to carry out the detailed energy audit, wherein we do measurements and take values, and then we further find out the scope for energy savings in each across all the zones of the plant. Uh, while doing the detailed energy audit, we consider the interactive effects. Effect of one zone on the another zone, or one process on the another process. We take also that into account while calculating the energy savings or energy consumption in any equipment. In a detailed or comprehensive energy audit, one of the key element is the energy balance. This is based on an inventory of energy using the systems and assumption of further actions to be taken to energy to conserve the energy. The detailed energy audit is carried out in three phases: the pre-audit phase, and the audit phase, and the post-audit phase. In the pre-audit phase, which is the step one. Actually, there is a 10-step methodology for to carry out the detailed energy audit. In this step one and step two is related to the pre-audit phase. In this step one, we do the proper planning and organize the things, wherein we select the people or wherein we make an energy audit team and choose the energy audit instruments which are required for carrying out the energy audit, and we plan for a number of days which, during which we carry out the energy audit in any industry. And then we conduct walkthrough audit, wherein we go and visit the plant for a 1 or 2 day, and we discuss with the plant managers and shop floor people and the top managers, and we collect the macro level data from them, and we go through the overall process of the factory, and we get aware of the basic functionality of the or the processes which are carried out in the factory. And then we plan for the next stage, that is a conduct of brief meeting and a structured interview with all the divisional heads and persons concerned. In this stage, we basically prepare some questionnaires to collect the data from different divisions or the zones or the sub process which are being which are running in the factory, and we build up a cooperation for the whole period wherein we need the support for each of the people, or when we need a constant support from the management to carry out this energy audit. And then we issue questionnaire to each of the department, and sometimes we conduct an awareness workshop also in order to make them aware of the concerns of this energy management. And in the next stage starts with the this third step, that is this is basically the audit phase, wherein we collect the primary data for each of the processes. That is basically the historical data and baseline parameters, and prepare a process flow chart for the whole facility. And then all service utility system diagrams are developed, such as single line diagram for water distribution diagram, and steam consumption diagram, and compressed air distribution diagram. And then we collect the designed operating data along with the schedule of operations being carried out in the factory. And along with this, we also collect electricity bills for, sometimes we collect last 1 year data, and if the process too critical, then we go for collecting last 3 years energy bills, and the log sheets of log sheets being maintained in the plant. In the fourth step, we conduct a detailed survey and measurements of all the equipments and the sub process which are being running in the facility. So in that we use dedicated instruments such as power analyzer, flue gas analyzer, tachometer, and anemometer. Sometimes while we do the thermography, use thermography device. So while carrying out the detailed measurements in the facility, we do motor survey, and we do insulation survey and lighting survey. Along with that, we do detailed collection of various energy affecting parameters. After which we conduct detailed trials and experiments for the equipments which wherein the energy consumption varies with respect to the time. Such equipments are like boiler operation. We do detailed measurement, trial, and experimentation with the boiler operation, and we collect the data related to transformer. Related to transformer working, and load variation in the pump and motors, and various furnaces. After collecting the detailed trial and detailed energy related data from each of these zones, then do total energy accounting. That means how much energy is being consumed and what is its share as compared to the total energy consumption of the plant. And then we do detailed analysis of each of the energy consuming zones. And, in the seventh step, we identify and develop energy conservation.
Sani sir, hello, Sani sir.
Yeah.
सबको जितने भी अपने ऑफिस के अटेंड कर रहे हैं अभी पैनलिस्ट में हैं, उनको बोल दीजिए कि माइक्रोफोन एंड वीडियो स्टॉप करने के लिए.
Sir, should we disconnect?
Microphones are.
And sir, tomorrow then you are coming?
Yeah. Okay.
स्टार्ट कीजिए सर.
Okay, but I am so in the seventh step, identification and development of energy conservation and opportunities. we do identification, consolidation of ENCON measures, energy conservation measures, and we develop and refine ideas where we can conserve energy, and what are the target areas for energy savings. And then we review the previous ideas suggested by the units while we discussed we initially when we discussed initially with the plant management, and what were our recommendations with respect to those I mean while we had an initial meeting with the plant people. And then after that we do brainstorming and the value analysis for each of the energy conservation measures, and then we contact vendors to get the idea of investment and the technology availability for the implementation of each of these energy conservation measures. After getting the estimated cost from each of the vendors and the saving potential, then we do cost benefit analysis, wherein we assess the technical feasibility and economic viability of the technology or energy conservation measures, and prioritize each of the energy conservation options for implementation. Each of the ENCON option is then options are listed according to their investment potential and saving potential, and we prioritize with the low, medium, and long-term measures. That what are those measures which are giving quick payback, and what are those measures which are giving which will take long time for giving the payback. After the cost benefit analysis, we do report preparation presentation to the management, where the detailed energy audit report is prepared, covering all the aspects of the energy audit carried out, and brief about the process being followed in the industry, and the studies carried out, the major areas covered under this study, and the data and the evaluations done, and then the cost benefit analysis. Everything is covered in the energy audit report, and then a brief of which is converted into a presentation, which is presented to the plant management for their feedback. After which the final stage is the post audit phase, where we give support, or we provide support to the facility for implementation of each of the energy ENCON options, and we do a follow-up activity with them in order to make them believe that energy audit team is with them, and they will be supporting in while the energy conservation measures gets implemented in their facility. Now, as we make a process flow mapping diagram for the facility, a typical process flow mapping diagram looks like this, which we have shown in this figure, wherein the wood with a 50% humidity is an energy source. And this diagram shows the each and every step how much energy is being consumed, and the red line shows the red line given below shows that how much energy is being used by various processes and energy transfer, and the arrows given above the process line shows the energy losses. Losses as a drying, losses as gasification, and losses CO2 removal. And the blue line shows the energy generation from energy generated from at the various stages. So this is the typical energy mapping diagram we have to make in order to get an idea of how much energy is being consumed or being is going as a loss. Such kind of diagram we have to prepare. The next stage is identification of energy conservation opportunities. These opportunities basically divided into 4 areas. energy generation, energy distribution, energy usage in processes, and the fuel substitution. Energy generation are the areas wherein we have to look out for the opportunities or possibilities where we can generate energy from the existing system output, or like captive power generation, steam generation in the boilers, thermic fluid heating, optimal loading of DG sets. These are few areas where energy generation possibility can be looked for, looked out for. And in energy distribution, we identify the possibilities of energy conservation in transformers and cables, transmission lines and switch gears. And the power factor improvement can also be another aspect of energy conservation in the energy distribution. And the third point is energy usage in processes. We in energy usage in processes, we try to analyze the process, whether we can do some process modification, or is there any opportunity in modifying the technology or equipment, so that the process takes the less energy, consumes the process consumes the less energy and produces same quality of output. This aspect we have to check in this area. And fourth one is the fuel substitution, where we try to identify the appropriate fuel for efficient energy conservation, whether the fuel switching is feasible or not, or can we try using some other kind of fuel. Next is technical and economic feasibility of the chosen energy conservation options, wherein we try to there are few factors which we need to be taken into consideration while selecting any energy conservation option. Like the technology availability, where we have to check whether the technology is easily available, or it has to be procured within the country, or it has to be procured from outside the country, or it is whether it is locally available. That is the one factor. And second one is the space requirement. We have to check how much space is required basically in the web. It may happen that we do not have much space in the plant area or in the facility to put up that technology. If the space is not there, then the implementation of such ENCON measures will be either costly, or it may not be feasible. Costly means they have to take the space on grant, or there may not be a possibility of taking that space. So in that case, the ENCON measures implementation may not be a feasible idea, even though it may be resulting into huge energy savings. Third factor is skilled manpower. We have to kept in mind that we have the trained manpower who will be managing, or he will be operating this technology, which we have taken in the ENCON measures. And the fourth factor is after sales service. We have to check whether the local local service providers are there who will be available throughout the time. If any fault occurs in that technology, or if the vendor who is supplying the technology is locally available, he will be available if any problem occurs in the technology for addressing that problem in the technology. So, and the next factor is the impact of measure on safety. We have to check whether the technology implementation, technology or the energy conservation option we are proposing is safe for the environment and for the people working with it. We have to check that safety aspect. And then the production process and the output. We have to check whether it is giving good quality of output, or the production at par which we are getting right now. And the maintenance, whether the maintenance the cost will be low or high, that we have to check for each of the technical ENCON options. And then one is the output quality, whether the product or the services which which will be coming out after the implementation of such ANCON options will be of high quality or not, or will be of same quality which we are getting now. So that so all these factors we have to kept in mind. We have to keep in mind while selecting each of the analyzing each of the ANCON options for implementation. Then we do a technical and economic feasibility for each of the options. First, we do the investment required. That will comprises of equipment cost, civil work cost, instrumentation cost, and the auxiliaries required. These four factors will give you the investment. And next is annual operating cost. Annual operating cost comprises of cost of capital, maintenance, manpower, and energy, along with the depreciation factor that we consider in the technology. So, in the technology, in the annual operating cost, these 4 or 5 factors play a major role, and we can get the annual operating cost using these 5 factors. And the fourth key indicator is annual savings. We can calculate the savings, how much thermal energy we will be saving, such as coal or LDO, oil, light diesel oil, and electrical energy savings, raw material savings, and the waste disposal. So all these factors we have to consider. We have to consider while doing the technical and the economic feasibility for each of the ANCON options. Now we have to calculate the net savings. Net savings is basically the total of annual savings and minus the annual operating cost. So we get the net savings per year on an annual basis, and then payback period in months we have to calculate. Payback period can be calculated by dividing the investment with the net energy savings multiplied the 12 months. So we'll get the payback period in the number of months. So payback period will be the time after which the savings will be the profit of the facility as a parameter of energy savings. After covering all these activities, we have to now prepare the energy audit report. The format for the energy, a typical format for the energy audit report that most of the energy auditor use is comprised of this format. There will be a table of format where the acknowledgement will be there, and the energy audit team. We have to mention who the people who has carried out the energy audit in the facility, and the executive summary of the energy savings or the ANCON options, which will briefly detail out each of the ANCON options, investment requirement, savings, and the payback period. Then the first chapter, from which the main report starts, the introduction about the plant, which will cover up the general plant details and description, component or production cost, which will cover up the raw material, energy, chemicals, manpower, and overhead cost. Along with the major energy use and areas, production process description, brief description of manufacturing processes. It will be and process flow diagram. Production process and description will cover up the brief description of manufacturing process, process flow diagram, major unit operations, major raw material input, quantity, and cost. The third chapter will cover up the energy and utility systems, wherein each of the individual zones will be covered for electricity and steam, water compressed air, and these process areas will be covered in this chapter, along with the detailed process flow diagram and energy and material balance diagram. Flowchart showing the flowchart will show the flow rate, temperature, and pressure of all input and output streams and the water balance for entire industry. Energy efficiency in utility and process systems. Specific energy consumption, boiler efficiency assessment, thermic fluid heater performance assessment, furnace efficiency analysis, and such as other major energy consuming guzzlers will be the analysis of various energy consuming equipment is shown in this chapter. After which energy conservation options and recommendations will come up, which will list out the options of the energy conservation measures along with its investment and the savings estimates. And next to which the implementation plan for the energy saving measures for each of the energy conservation projects will be listed out in this chapter. And the annexures will cover up the list of instruments which were used for the measure for data collection, and list of vendors and technical details, the vendor details or the estimations which we have received from the vendors for each of the energy conservation options will be given in the annexures along with the energy audit worksheets, the data collected. This is the typical format which we use for summary of energy conservation recommendation, which we use in this the very first chapter, table of this executive summary. So it will be one column. The second column will be energy saving recommendations, and the third column will show you the annual energy savings in terms of kilowatt per empty or kiloliters per empty, and then the annual savings in rupees lakhs, capital investment required, and the simple payback period. This is a brief of this will give you a brief summary of the whole energy audit report and is covered as a part of energy executive energy in the report. Now for prioritizing the various energy ENCON options, we use this kind of format wherein we break all these we divide all these ENCON measures in three portions: in no investment portion, low investment, or the high investment. No investment measures are those measures where we do not require any investment. We just have to do some changes in the process or some tuning, equipment tuning or the energy supply tuning, and we can directly conserve the energy or save the energy. The low investment options are those options where the payback will be from 6 months, 2 or 6 months to maybe up till 1 year, and require very low investment. Such equipments will be like controls, equipment modification, process changes. And high investment and the long-term options would be which require very huge investment, maybe a technology change, or where we have to install new equipment. We have to entirely replace the existing equipment, such as boiler or a thermic fluid heater, or we have to change all the old motors, low efficiency motors. So this will require high investment. The format for reporting energy efficiency measures in the reports will be this kind of. So first row will give you the title of energy saving recommendation, such as replacing old non-pressure boiler with the energy efficient IBR boiler. The next row will briefly describe on the existing systems and operation. After which we will describe about the proposed system and the operation as a part of ENCON or energy conservation measure, and after which we have to do a detailed energy saving calculation in this format itself, and the cost benefit analysis and the payback period we have to give in months or in years we mentioned. Now understanding energy cost. Energy invoices and the bills are generally used for estimating the energy cost for any facility. Basically, they provide a record for energy purchase in a given year, in which in a given year, which gives a baseline for the future reference. So the energy invoice may indicate potential for savings when related to a production or requirement, or to air conditioning requirements, space heating, etc. When electricity is purchased on the basis of maximum demand tariff, we can check what is our maximum demand, and accordingly what is our maximum demand in the electricity bill, and what is actual maximum demand which are being consumed in the unit. So the difference we can check. If there's a big difference, we can cut down that maximum demand requirement. We can save a big chunk of money on that from the electricity bills. So such kind of measures we generally can get directly by if we review our electricity bills or the energy invoices, which does not require an investment. So these are quick, payback opportunities which we should surely look for. Then the energy cost in an industry. There are two types of cost: fuel cost and the power cost. Fuel cost comprises of fuel oil, low sulfur heavy stock oil, the light diesel oil (LDO) that we also call LDO, and LPG. Thermal energy sources we cover under fuel cost, and the procurement of such fuels generally depends on 4 or 5 parameters: price at source, transportation charges, type of transport used to procure or transfer these fuels to the industry, and the quality of fuel such as contamination, moisture, and the GCV of the fuel. So these factors we should keep in mind while selecting fuel for the industry, or the thermal energy source for the industry. As far as the power cost is concerned, electricity price in India are not on basically electricity price in India varies from one state to another state. So we have to keep in mind all the tariff. We should be aware of the tariff orders, how much charges they are basically charging for the various tariff structures. So like a tariff structure or the unit cost or the demand charges, PF charges, or if there is any penalty if we are not complying to the PF requirement, that is generally 0.95 in most of these states. And is there any LT or high tension or low tension charges? So we should look for all these factors while analyzing the electricity bills or the power cost. Understanding the energy cost, generally for from the energy bills, the energy cost is calculated as like for the electricity, the consumption was around 5 lakh kWh units. So the unit cost for each per unit of electricity was 4 rupees. So the total monthly bill was around 20 lakh rupees. For the fuel oil, the unit consumed 200 kiloliters, and unit cost of the fuel oil was rupees 10,000 per kiloliter. So the monthly bill of that fuel oil was around 20 lakh. And similarly for the coal also, 10,000 1,000 tons were consumed, and the unit cost of coal was rupees 2,000 per ton. So the total monthly bill was around 20 lakh. So the total cost of the energy for the whole month was around 60 lakhs. So the conversion to common unit of electric energy was these are the common conversions of 1 kWh is equals to 8 kilocals per kWh. Heavy fuel generally have 10,000 kilocals of DCV, and the coal generally have 4 kilocals of energy content per kg. Now, sometimes we do energy benchmarking. Not sometimes, always we have to do the energy benchmarking while targeting the energy conservation in a facility. Energy benchmarking is basically when we compare the per unit of electricity consumption or energy consumption with respect to various other values. So there are two kinds of benchmarking: internal benchmarking, where we do our energy energy cost per unit of production with respect to the similar values in the past, or when we compare the same with the historical trends. And internal benchmarking is generally done with the data with the own data or internal to the organization. As far as the external benchmarking is concerned, we compare the specific energy consumption or per unit energy consumption with respect to the other industry which is operating at par or the best operating on the best parameters in the similar sector. So there are various factors which can affect the external benchmarking. The similar industries, or the scale of operation, the vintage, or the time of how old is the technology, raw material specification, and the quality of the raw material used, and the production specification, the quality, product specification, and the quality. So these are the factors we have to keep in mind while doing the external benchmarking for energy conservation. Benchmarking energy performance. So for benchmarking energy performance permits a quantification of fixed and variable energy consumption trends vis-a-vis production levels, and comparison of the industry energy performance with respect to various production levels or the capacity utilizations in another similar facility. Identification of best practices on the external benchmarking data, and identification of the scope and margin available for energy consumption and cost reduction. The basis for monitoring and target setting areas. So these are basically the benefits, or the benefits which we can look for while doing the benchmarking. Some of the benchmarking parameters which we generally have to calculate while doing benchmarking. There are generally two types of parameters: gross production related parameters and the equipment or the utility related parameters. Gross product related parameters are generally kilowatt per MT of clinkers in a cement plant, or kilowatt per metric ton of production in a paper unit. In equipment is utility related, kilowatt per ton of refrigeration in air conditioning plant, or a kilowatt per liter in a diesel power plant, diesel power generation plant. These are the three factors which we have to calculate while assessing the energy performance of any facility. The production factor, wherein we production factor is calculated by dividing the current year production with respect to the reference year production, and a reference year equivalent is basically the reference year energy use and the production factor multiplied with the production factor. So the energy plant energy performance can be calculated by production year equivalent minus the current year energy consumed divided by the reference year equivalent. So this will give you the plant energy performance. And if this value is negative, that means our current year energy consumption is more with respect to the reference year, which is give us a idea that we are consuming more, so we have to conserve energy. And if the plant energy performance value is positive, that means this year or in the current year we are consuming less energy as compared to the reference year. So we are, somewhere we have taken some measures to conserve the energy. Matching energy usage to the requirements. So there are some generally the scopes which we should look for conservation of energy, such as eliminating throttling of pump by impeller trimming, resizing pump, and installing variable fixed drives will give us energy savings. Eliminate damper operation in fans by impeller trimming, installing variable speed drives, pulley diameter modification for belt drives, and fan resizing for better efficiency. Modernization or chilled water temperature for moderation of chilled water temperature for process chilling needs. Recovery of energy loss in control valve pressure drop by back pressure turbine operation, and adoption of task lighting in place of less effective area lighting. So these are some of the areas which we can target for energy conservation. Now, for maximizing the system efficiency, we can replace the pump, fan, air compressors in order to achieve high with the energy efficient ones to get energy savings. We can eliminate the steam leakages by trap improvement and maximize the condensate recovery. And adoption of combustion control for maximizing combustion efficiency. These are the some of the ENCON options wherein we can increase the or improve the system efficiency. Optimizing input energy requirement. For optimizing input energy requirement, shuffling of compressors to match needs can be done, and the periodic review of insulation thickness can be done. And wherever the insulation gets damaged, we can re-insulate those areas. Identify potential for heat exchanger networking, process integration, and the optimization of transformer operation with respect to the load variations. Fuel energy substitution. We can replace we can replace coal by coconut shells and rice husks, and which are net zero carbon emission fuel sources, and replacement of LDO by LSHS, which emits less carbon and give better efficiency for the equipment with reduced maintenance efforts. For the energy substitution, replacement of electrical heaters by steam heaters, and replacement of steam-based hot water by solar systems. The final part is our energy audit instruments. So, in order to do detailed assessment of each of the technology or the process zones in a facility, we have to use a dedicated energy audit instrument for collecting the detailed energy parameters. The list of those equipments are basically for taking detailed electrical energy consumption parameters. We use three-phase power analyzer for three-phase supply or three-phase for the equipments which run on three-phase supply. And second one is single-phase power analyzer, which generally used for lighting and fans or this, loads which run on a single-phase supply. Contact thermometer. This is basically based on this is equipped with a thermocouple which is used to measure the temperature of infrared thermometer is generally used to measure the temperature of surface areas of the insulation or outside surface of the furnaces, boiler, etc. Pitot tube manometer is used to measure the flow meter, and this is basically contact type manometer which is used to measure flow meter, flow of any fluid. Ultrasonic water flow meter is used to is non-contact type. Basically, it is connected outside the surface of the pipe which is carrying the fluid. Motor speed can be measured through a tachometer. This is contact type, and for the non-contact measurement of the motor speed, we use stroboscope. And lux meter is generally used for collecting the lux level of various lighting systems. This basically measures the illumination levels of various lighting fixtures. Combustion of fuel gas analysis basically collects or measures the O2 content or the CO2 content or the SOx NOx in the flue gas. And anemometer is used to measure the airflow or the speed of the wind. And hygrometer is used for the air. Thank you very much. And now the session is open for the queries, and participants can raise their queries if they need any clarification or the services provided by MPC. They can directly post it, or they can mail also. And we also request all of the participants to please log into the NPC website and register for the upcoming webinars. And you can refer to the NPC website www.npcindia.gov.in. हाँ बंद नहीं कर
What are the ways of conducting energy audit during COVID-19 online?
So basically, the first query we are taking is that how to conduct energy audit while COVID-19, which is the present scenario which is going on. This is the very crisis moment. So to tackle this situation, although for the detailed energy audit and the actually we can carry out the preliminary energy audit where we have to use the readily available data from the plant. We can take up those data and we can some efficiencies. We can check whether we are working on I mean, this will give you a broad idea whether we are working effectively or not. So I propose that you collect the basic parameters of the equipments which you are going to analyze, or you can collect the basic energy parameters related to your industrial facility, and like electricity bills and the fuel bills, and you can check on broadly whether we are affecting we are I mean, at what level we are and how much what are the target areas we can check. Once the this COVID situation is over, we can target those areas where the detailed assessment is required. Next question. As far as this recorded lecture is there, I'll ask the team if they have recorded. It will be whether it will be shared or not. So, what is the basis for setting targets? Sir, setting targets is basically done like we have discussed about the benchmarking based on the benchmarking itself. So we can first our first activity is where we are. We have to check whether at what stage we are. We have to collect the base. We have to calculate the system efficiency, existing system efficiency, and then we have to fix our target till what I mean. What are the possibilities, and till how much energy how much energy consumption we can reduce. You develop some benchmarking internal to the processes, internal to your organization, and try to achieve that. And the next query is what are the ways of conducting during COVID-19? That is, I have already addressed. We can only target the preliminary assessment we can do, and where we have to take the readily available data. We can analyze that, and we can identify what are the major areas where detailed assessment is to be done. So on a broad level, we can do this energy assessment, and then later on, while this situation is over, this lockdown period is over, we can target those areas for detailed assessment. What is the expected duration of audit phase and the post audit phase? Sir, actually this varies from time to time, or not time to time, plant to plant, and the process size of the plant. 3-4 things: size of the plant, process being employed by the plant, and the product, what kind of product, and the we are making. So it varies. It may vary from a few weeks to few months also. It may go up to 6 months also if the plant capacity is very high. And generally for the audit phase, pre-audit phase, it is generally varies from 15 days to 2 months. And the post audit phase, it is basically depend upon what kind of measures is suggested and how much in the industry is in implementing those ENCON measures. And if the ENCON measures are too much, cost demanding and the time demanding, then it may go up till 1 or sometimes 2 years also. Post audit phase. The next query is MJ stands for mega joule. Yeah, right, sir. Correct, sir. Correct. Sir, boiler trial. Yeah, your question is very valid. We will have a separate webinar on this, and we will discuss in detail. We will discuss the direct efficiency calculation for the boiler assessment, as well as we will discuss about how we do the detailed, this indirect efficiency calculation for the boiler. And soon we will come up with the another webinar on this boiler assessment, especially on the boiler assessment. The time taken for completing an audit for the whole industry is, as I told earlier, it depends on size of the industry, the process used, and the product type. So it may vary from 2 weeks to few months also. Could you please throw some light on water balance study? Yeah, sure. And for the water balance study also, we will have a separate webinar. You please keep a track of the webinars on our website, and soon we will come up with a webinar on detailed water balance study also. Sir, for ISO reference, you please, I better suggest you to have a look of the books issued by Bureau of Energy Efficiency for the energy auditing course. So, already available in stock on the Bureau of Energy Efficiency website. You please refer to those. You can check also the AIP NPC website also, and these are available on the AIP NPC website also, which is the conducting agency for this energy auditors exam. This depends on different categories of consumer, which in Sir, how do we decide a reference here? Sir, reference here, you can take any reference here. Current is your is present year, and reference for the reference year, you can take the previous also year also, or any year which you find through. With which you want to compare your present energy consumption. Reference year can be any year, previous year, or any past year. It can be 5 years back also, 10 years back also. Sir, the another query is usage of briquette fired boiler instead of thermic fluid heater will improve costing of plant. Sir, that depends on various factors. What is the quality of briquette fired fuel, and what is the cost, and how much, what is the transportation cost, where you are procuring this briquette. This will affect and the efficiency or this cost benefit analysis for this briquette fired boiler, and for which we or you need to have do a detailed calculation with respect to the present fuel consumption. It may be it may give you saving also. It may give you the saving may go in negative also. Further queries, we have lots of queries which can be answered, we will review and we will answer. And if you have further queries, you can directly mail us, and we will surely be good to answer all those queries. And finally, this session is this presentation and answer session is over. And now our DG, Mr. Arun Kumar Shah, DG NPC, will address all the participants who are attending this session.